Last weekend, I cycled 100 miles from Hartbeespoort Dam to the Sun City Resort. This event, known as the Race to the Sun, had over 1,500 finishers. So why do I say that I cycled it alone? Last year, my cycling partner in crime, Jess, and I did this race together. We had a great time and were excited to take part again. But, unfortunately, Jess is busy bouncing back from a nasty bout of flu, so we decided it's probably better if she doesn't cycle 165 kilometers. That left me to tackle the 100-mile distance with no one there beside me. As I was waiting in my pen for the race to get started, I felt alone in a crowd of people. I knew I wouldn't have a teammate who could help me when the going got tough. I had to deal with any technical issues by myself, and I had to carry all my own spares. But more worryingly, I didn't have anyone to chat with. Endurance sports are often framed as activities for the lonely, moody masochist. In reality, we chat with each other a lot. It's part of the appeal. Success in an endurance event relies on going slowly enough that you should always be able to pass the talk test, a method used to help assess the intensity or effort level you're exerting during exercise. For example, if you can easily talk in full, fluid, complete sentences, and even sing a simple song like "Everything is Awesome" from the Lego Movie on repeat through the night. Everything is awesome, everything is cool when you're part of a team, everything is awesome when you're living your dream. You are probably performing low-intensity exercise or cycling at an easy pace. That is also why many endurance events are advertised as team events. As the saying goes, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. This leads to the problems I experienced by cycling without my teammate. During the 8.5 hours of cycling by myself with just my thoughts, I identified 3 main problems with riding alone. Problem number 1. It was so boring. Physical exertion in sports like cycling come in 3 flavors. You can exert yourself by going fast, you can exert yourself by tackling challenging terrain, or you can exert yourself by covering long distances. A 100-mile cycle event is difficult because it is far. When you are going far, you need to make sure that you're going at an easy enough pace to be able to replenish your energy reserves on the go. If you go too hard, you switch from using abundant fat as fuel to sugars, which you need to replenish. If you go harder still, you could reach the point at which your body accumulates more lactic acid than it can efficiently get rid of. At this point of effort, you'll start to fatigue rapidly, and your legs may start to feel that sore, heavy, achy feeling. So, endurance events tend not to have crazy terrain. Normal people dislike massive elevation gain or super tricky single track in an endurance event because it tips the exertion from effort-filled but fun to holy cow, I'm not going to survive this. The ride to the sun was no different. With only 1,000 meters of elevation gain and mostly tame gravel roads, the challenge was not the terrain. Additionally, the high-felt scenery, while having its own charm, is pretty featureless at cycling speeds. This unchallenging terrain left me bored. I really needed someone to chat to or some music to listen to give me something other than just the thoughts in my head to keep me company. Just after the halfway point, I hopped onto this little group for the sole reason that they were playing music from a speaker housed in the back pocket of a cycling jersey. Anything to relieve the monotony, even strange techno remixes of Taylor Swift songs. Problem number 2. It hurt. I have not been doing much cycling. A cursory glance at Strava reveals that in the last 8 months, I have done a mere 450 kilometers of cycling, less than 2 kilometers a day. so my cycling legs were ill-prepared for 165 kilometers in one go. I've been doing plenty of running and strength training, so the fitness was there, but everything hurt. My bum, my hamstrings, my hands, even the bottom of my feet hurt so much that for many kilometers the pain is all that I could think about. And pain speaks loudest when you're alone. Without someone to distract me from the sensations, it was so easy to stew in the aches and pains, which elevated the intensity of problem number 3. Time dilated. Toward the end of an endurance activity, time seems to stand still and each kilometer seems to get longer. I reached the darkest point of the ride with a mere 30 kilometers to go. 30 kilometers is nothing. A 30-kilometer training ride is a ride in the park. I had completed 82% of the race, so logically, the last little bit should be completely doable. I decided to just keep the legs ticking over. But I would cycle happily for an hour, check my watch, and only 5 minutes will have passed. The kilometers remaining stayed steady at 30 for what felt like an eternity. To distract myself from the time paradox I had unwittingly gotten myself caught in, I played with a mindfulness technique. While cycling, I would pay attention to my surroundings. The aim was to notice 5 things I could see, 4 things I could hear, 3 things I could feel, 2 things I could smell, and 1 thing I could taste. Inevitably, the 3 things I could feel were all aches and pains. My hurting bum, my hurting feet, and my hurting hamstrings. But even acknowledging the pain was freeing. And I enjoyed noticing the storm clouds gathering on the horizon, the sound of my wheels on the gravel, the smell of the slightly wet dirt ground, and the chirping of the birds in the bushveld beside the road. The 3 problems of riding alone boils down to one bigger problem. It's much harder to find your why. Why am I cycling 165 kilometers on a random weekend? This isn't fun. I'm bored, I hurt, and it's never ending. With about 10 kilometers of the race left, I got my answer to why I do these things. It was just after a water point, with the threatening rain finally moving away and the end of the event in sight, that it happened. A moment of transcendence. Flow state researcher Mihai Csikszentmihalyi states that during a moment of transcendence, we feel a sense of exhilaration, a deep sense of enjoyment that is long cherished and that becomes a landmark in memory for what life should be like. On this random piece of road, I found transcendence. I found a peace, a self-contentedness, a sense of being in the right place. I feel like a slightly different person after this moment, more sure of myself and how I fit into the world. These moments of transcendence are rare and often fleeting, but endurance exercise can provide a wonderful glimpse of this type of peak experience. And transcendent moments are much easier to spot when you aren't being distracted by the cheerful chattering of your much-loved teammate.